Your AI sidekick has arrived. That's right. Turn off the bat signal because Blaze is here to save the day. Blaze is an AI sidekick for overwhelmed teams of one just like you. Brainstorm and outline content ideas with AI. Go from idea to on brand content in minutes. Turn a blog post into 10 plus asset types, ads, social posts, emails, and more. Collaborate with colleagues in real time and get content approved. Go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Navigate to Blaze and download today.
All right, folks. It's time for this week's mini episode. And as you know, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to tell someone to tell somebody else to join. A win is a win. And listen, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We can only grow if you do that. And also if you tell others to. That's right. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that notification bell so you know when a new episode drops. And remember, all right, relax. I don't even charge you a thing. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us on Spotify and even iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcast. All right, listen, we want to get straight to this because, excuse me, I have been asked so many times, well, Dr. T, why haven't you done an episode on this topic? And let's just say that this will be the first, only, and last time that I'm going to talk about this subject. We're going to dive into this Diddy topic. All right. And I purposely have been avoiding this for a while. You know, I've seen the messages, the comments, the DMs. Hey, do an episode on the Diddy indictment. Well, although we talk about many things outside of sports, this is not one that I wanted to address. But since we're here and I want to be sure that you guys know that I am hearing you, I'm going to give you my opinion about this. And like I said, after this episode, we won't touch on this subject again. All right. So let me just go ahead and say this up front. You know, what's happening is something that I think we all could foresee coming for a long time and not just here lately with Cassie or his homes being raided or whatever little memes and jokes that you've seen online. We've seen this coming for a long time. We're about to discuss things that are dark and disgusting. Now, it's not about the glitz and the glamour that you may associate with a man like Sean Combs. Not today. We're looking beyond that. Now we're going to look into the controversy and problematic behavior that's plagued his life for decades. And we're not here to gossip. We're here just for the straight facts. Now let's start way back in the beginning. If you remember, he went to Howard University. Diddy attended Howard. And though he didn't graduate, this is where a lot of the foundation for who he would become was laid. Now, Howard's a place, and we all know it's for ambition, it's for hustle, it's for pride in the culture. HBCU, right? And Diddy had plenty of all of that at his exposure. Let's just say that at his exposure. And problem is that ambition that's unchecked can lead to reckless decisions. And that's something that we see repeatedly if you look at the things that have gone on in his span, in the things that we know about, and maybe some things we don't. Who knows? Now, if you remember, in the early 90s, after leaving Howard, he worked with Andre Harrell, and Diddy climbed his way into the music industry, eventually creating what we know as Bad Boy. And it wasn't long before that he was associated with some of the biggest names in hip hop. All right, let's call it Biggie Smalls, The Lox. And a lot of times we forget just how big that reach was and who he grabbed and pulled in. I mean, Jodeci, I think he was a backup dancer for Big Daddy Kane at one point. Of course, we know Faith Evans and Mace, Lil Kim, and that's just to name a few. But that's also where the controversy begins. Now, Diddy's involvement in the East Coast West Coast rivalry led to the death of both Biggie and Tupac. And that's well documented that somewhere, somehow, his name has always come up within that. And like I said, people that were directly involved have a story to tell. And we'll see what the outcome of those allegations are as well. Now, why he wasn't or hasn't been directly implicated by law enforcement, it's hard to ignore how his presence and influence escalated the tensions. Now, these weren't just beefs on wax. People actually lost their lives. That's the kind of darkness we're talking about here. And if you remember, it got even darker after that when he went and beat up Andre Harrell. If you remember that story, he went and he beat up Andre Harrell over that Hate Me Now video, and they wanted to pull out, remember the crucifixion? But it was too late to pull it. So you wanted it in the video, and then you talk to your pastor and you talk to your mom, pull it. Well, Andre Harrell had already spent 15,000 to build out that scene. And then when he said, hey, you know what, it's a little too late to take it out now, we can't do that. You show up with your goons to his office, basically break his face open, and then when it goes to court, here's 500,000 something dollars of hush money. I don't want to go to jail. And he did 1 hour in jail, if you guys remember that story. Then, if you remember, there's the 99 shooting at Club New York. Now, Diddy, along with his then girlfriend, right, Jennifer Lopez, and his artist Shine, which very similarly sounded just like Biggie, was involved in an incident where 3 people were injured. Now, check this out. Shine ended up doing the time and not Diddy. Why? Because they hinged on the fact of what Jennifer Lopez said. She said that Shine had the gun and shot in the crowd. But the young lady that was shot in the face, if you all remember this story, her story has never changed since that time. And she has always said, 10 toes down, standing tall on this fact. I looked at Puffy shoot the gun, and it shot me, fragments shot me in my face. And even more recently, since all of this nonsense has come up, she's still saying the same thing. She's never faltered, away from that story. Now, the media spun it, basically, like the lawyers did their thing, and ultimately the focus shifted away from Diddy. Excuse me. Now, let's be real here, okay? Let's just keep it tall. His proximity to violence was clear. His ability to dodge responsibility became part of his legacy. Think about every time Diddy got in trouble, it's like snake oil. He wiggled his way out of it. Now, fast forward to today, and we find ourselves with Diddy facing serious allegations. And I'm just going to say this. I've seen interviews from people in the industry. One most recently on the Stephen A. Smith podcast was Uncle Luke. And what he alluded to was this is because of DiMaggio and the fallout that Diddy had with Ciroc or, one of his liquors or whatever it was. And you don't want to piss off the hand that feeds you. And so now they're dragging this black man through them. Okay, no, time out, sir. Time out. First of all, let's get one thing clear. Homeland Security had nothing to do with DiMaggio and his liquor issue. Okay? But Homeland Security had everything to do with these little nasty allegations that he has. And then Luke further went on to say, oh, well, what he did with all of those women is no different than getting a female from a strip club and flying her from Miami over to New York and telling her to do this and do that. It's called prostitution. And people been doing that for years. There lies the problem right there. Right there lies the problem. Now just take that thought process and times it by a little Boosie who backs that up. And whomever else thinks that way, kind of let you know what's going on in their mind, right? Disgusting take um, from Uncle Luke. And then later on, he tried to clean it up. Now, Stephen A jumped in and said, no, he was trying to get him to understand that these allegations are not of prostitution, that he's paying people to actually travel across not even just state lines from out of the country as sex workers. This is much different. You don't call a stripper a sex worker per Homeland Security. That interview was disgusting. If you want to go and check out what he said, go to Stephen A. Smith's podcast. I'll link it in the pinned comment on YouTube once this episode goes up, and you can check it out. Leave your thoughts down in the comment. But if you look at his allegations right now, this time is much darker than just a nightclub incident. He's been indicted on charges that stem from sexual misconduct, manipulation, and abuse, and much more. This is coming directly from the unsealed indictment. Now, and before anyone jumps all in the comments saying innocent until proven guilty, let's be clear, these are not light allegations. He will not be found guilty and put in prison by public opinion. And everyone is innocent until proven guilty. When you have video evidence, which the South Bronx, Brooklyn, or whatever that prosecutor is, wherever borough he's from, held a press conference and said that there was electronic devices with proof to back up the reason they picked him up early. They didn't even give him a warning that they were coming to get him. They picked him up early because of those things. These charges, according to the indictment, detail patterns of exploitation that goes back years. And if true, they reveal a man who's used his power and influence in profoundly disturbing ways. Now, here's my thing. Where are all of the people who aided and abetted this nonsense, this filth, this trash? The people who drove them, the people that picked them up from the airport, the people that went and put all of the drugs inside of the lube. Where are all of the other people that were involved? Because to pull off something this elaborate, be clear, he didn't do it by himself. So why hasn't there been other arrests? Listen to me. I'm not talking about other celebrities because that's coming. I'm talking about all of the other people that were involved that did the dirty work. Where are those people? Now, this is where I want to pause a little bit right here. This isn't about rumor or speculation. We're not going to be diving into gossip about his relationships or who said what about him on the tabloids. Y'all can have that. The facts are that Diddy has long surrounded himself with controversy, and every single time something like this surfaces, it's part of a larger pattern of behavior. Something had to have happened to him in his upbringing, or something that he's been taught, or something that he's been seen or exposed to by whomever, where he thinks this is one, appropriate, two, normal, and three, the money backs it up, and the money is the controlling factor. Now, this man has tremendous influence over the culture. He even had Usher, what do you call it? Guardianship over Usher at 13. See, all of that right there to me is weird. You can even run that to what is the little what is that man's name? Bow Wow, little Bow Wow. And his mother sent him to California at 4 or 5, and he grew up with Snoop and all of his people. So right there lies the problem early. Now, including with his influence over the culture, his business, of course, entertainment for decades. And yes, people in power often exploit a lot of that power. But here's the thing, right? Excuse me, and this is what I find interesting. When you look at the trail that Diddy's left behind, actual trails, okay, from his days at Howard, through the East Coast, West Coast drama, through his legal battles with his artists stealing money, didn't even give Valletta Wallace a dime of Biggie's uh, money that he made with Bad Boy. Okay, Mace, we know how that turned out. The Locks, I mean, they threatened him on the radio. It got ugly, and over time, we seen him falling. Then, of course, you have the New York City incident at the club. And now these allegations, it's hard to argue that these are isolated incidents. This is seriously, in my opinion, a pattern of behavior. And that's why the situation is so disturbing, because there are people who knew that this was going on and saw him become a monster and did nothing about it, said nothing about it, didn't go to the police. Listen, if you have to put me in protective custody, I am going to tell what it is that I saw and what it is that I know, because how many more people could have been saved from whatever he's done in that unsealed indictment? You can go and read it, it's public information. What could a person have? Think about it. Way back when he was in Howard, and way back when he started all this weird stuff early on, if someone around him that early would have stepped in and intervened, do you think that Cassie would be a victim of his BS? Absolutely not. And anybody else. And be clear, there are men who are alleging and have proof, allegedly have proof. Okay, he still has to have his day in court. But the videos that were taken from his house, these men have been abused. These men have been assaulted along with women. So whenever, whomever, male or female, says that this happened to me, we need to believe them the first time. Okay? That's why this is so disturbing. People like to focus on his success, the mogul, the billionaire, the man who defined the era of hip hop. But let's not forget the price that has been paid along the way. Lives have been affected, possibly destroyed by the actions of Diddy. So, where does this leave us? We don't know how this case will unfold. What we do know is that this isn't just another celebrity scandal. Think about Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and this is what I feel. And you can feel free to jump in the chat. Let me know what you think. This is what I think. I think that the FBI had a dime when they got that little nasty man off the street, and what he was doing was so filthy and so nasty to those girls down in Florida and the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and these young girls, making them do unspeakable things to this man. And when he was in prison, allegedly he committed suicide, okay? But think about if he would have survived and he would have went to trial. That's what this is right here. Oh yeah, it's bigger than a freak off. This is way deeper than that. And when I say deep, I mean it like this. It's deep to the point where you have other people involved who seems that this behavior is normal. Forget about the influence of a billionaire. In your right mind, you thought that what you were saying, what you were participating in, what you had these women doing, locking them up, drugging them, IVs, because they have been doing all of these things for days, for hours. Some of them beaten and made to be held hostage in the house until their bruises healed up. Those security guards who were around and saw these things that are happening and talking about it so freely right now. Oh yeah, I was around when he did this and I saw this and I've been knew about that. But if you have seen, heard, or you have been privy to about it and you didn't jump in and pick the phone up and call 911, you need to be locked up in the cell next to him with a hole in the floor, taking a shit right next to him in the cell, because you are just as guilty. These accusations are grave. And if they turn out to be true, then Diddy's legacy will no longer be about music, fashion, or entrepreneurship. It will be about the harm that he's caused and the lives he's damaged. And that's the reality that this case could be facing. Now, for everybody that was down in the chat asking me what my take was about it, this is it. This case is dark, and frankly, it's disgusting. It's bigger than entertainment gossip. And it's a reminder that power unchecked leads to destruction, not just of the person who has it, but of everyone that is in their circle. And I want to be very clear before this mini episode ends. This is the only time we're going to address these matters on this podcast. The fact that we are even here is disgusting. The details will come out in court, not on social media, and definitely not on this show. So from here on out, we're going to get back to winning. We're going to talk about sports. We're going to do the things that are positive within our realm, within our reach. And we're going to stay on that lane. Okay? Just keep tuning in to A Win is a Win. And remember, it doesn't matter how big or how small, a win is always a win. All right. Now we'll catch you here for our regular episode next week.